Let P, Q, R, S and T are 5 statements such that if P is true, that means if P is true, then both Q and S are true. So both Q is true and also S is true. Now next second statement says that if R and S are true, R is true and S is true, then T is false. T is false. So these are the two statements given. So here, in order to answer this question, I will tell you some things first. Okay. So remember that here it is said that if P is true, S is true. So if S is false, it means that P has to be false. Because if P is true, S will be true. So if S is false, it means that P has to be false. Because P won't come true. If P is true, S has to be true, right? So if S is false, P has to be false. So remember this thing. And one more thing you need to remember here. That means if P is true, then S is true. But reverse won't be correct. That means if S is true, then I cannot say that P is true. It could be P true or P false. So remember these things. So if you remember these things, then you can answer this question. Okay. So remember that if P is true, then S is true. That is given in the statement. But that doesn't mean that if S is true, then P is true. The reverse won't be correct. But if S is false, then we can say that P is false. That is the thing that you need to remember here. So then you can answer this question very easily. Okay. So here let us read the conclusions first. So conclusion 1 says that if T is true, then at least one of P and R must be false. Now here this statement says that if R is true and S is true, then T is false. Now it is said that T is true. So if T is true, at least one of R and S should be false, right? So if T is true, at least one among R or S is false. So R is false or S is false. Now, as I have already mentioned, here it is given that P is true, then S is true. That means if S is false, P has to be false. So if S is false, it means that P has to be false. So if here we can say that if T is true, then either at least one among R is false or P is false. So this is actually correct. Now if you look into the second statement, it says that if Q is true, then P is true. I already told you that it is given that P is true, then S is true. But reverse won't be correct. Okay, so we cannot say like this. So only one is the right answer.